How did you get introduced to Christ?
I was at school and I just joined my secondary school. We call it secondary school. It takes about 6 years. Then you go to college or university. So during one of the breaks, I saw a girl and who was reading a magazine, and this magazine had on it a title, "So You Want to Date," like DATE. You want to date. And I was wondering, I thought to myself, like, maybe she was communicating to me, like, come over.
Hey!
So she was holding it just, right opposite where I am. So I thought, so I came and I was wondering myself, because in our culture, ladies don't get to read that. It's men that are supposed to know how to go about, that kind of thing. So I showed up and I asked her politely because I wanted to know exactly what she was reading. So I asked her for the magazine and she allowed it, and I took it home and I read. But what was so unique about the articles, they were directly speaking to me. I don't remember so many scriptures because I hardly believe that it was even Christian magazine. But it was speaking directly to my life, the kind of life I was living in, teenage years. And I was wondering about a person who would basically be knowing it all. And so it spoke directly to me, the faith journey, but basically about the real life. So that began to change my life. So I came back the following day and I asked for more. She had 3 more magazines and she gave them to me and I began reading them. So the pride and the ego and everything in me began to melt down because the words were really, really melting my ego and pride and everything that I had melted me down. And after some time, because I kept rereading them over and over again, and I realized that it was God. So I accepted Christ to be my Savior.
Amen. So who was the author of the magazines he was reading?
Papa Michael Owens.
That's so crazy.
That is so fly. Like,
That's
Pastor Mike was
crazy.
writing articles in his magazine that he was, I guess, sending out, and it was blasting around the globe pretty much. And it so happens that the young lady had an article cut out. You ended up reading the article.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's how you ended up getting saved.
Yes, I got attracted by the title of the magazine, and I got to understand that okay, I won't get back to that, but some of the things that maybe God directs, because I don't know who had to think about this title, but it was good and captured my myself, and here I am. And I got saved just like that.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Wow.
I was 14, 15.
Dang.
By then.
Do you remember the title of the magazine?
So, was it So You Want to Date?
No, I mean, that's the title of the. No,
That was the.
you just send it.
Oh, okay. He sent it over. I think he sent it to you, sis.
I'm about to say I ain't get it.
Was that the title of it?
No, that was the title of the article, I believe.
Okay.
He
Okay.
thought he about to get
Changing
that
Your
number.
World magazine.
Changing Your World.
Changing Your World magazine. It was an article that Minister Mike wrote. He didn't write the
Oh, okay.
magazine. It was an article that he wrote that was called Changing the World.
That is actually amazing.
One article changed someone's life.
Yes.
So
That is amazing.
upon getting saved, like what was your first after you got yourself saved, which is 14, 15, what did you do next? Like how did you grab a Bible and start reading, or did you go on some another teacher or anything like that?
So when I received took back the magazines, because they never belonged to me.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to have them more, to keep reading them. So I went to a website. There was a website. Then I subscribed so I could receive my monthly magazines. So I received my first magazine while I was still at school. So all that period of time, I was at home and I could close myself in my room and, read and try to know more about them. So in that period of time, I skipped prayers because I come from a Muslim family with a staunch Muslim background. And I was supposed to take over my uncle, who was an imam teacher, a teacher of faith, Muslim teacher of faith.
Gotcha.
So everything I was being nurtured and prepared to be the next teacher of faith.
Gotcha.
So I had started to skip prayers. I couldn't pray, and because I was locked in my room and trying to read, and God was breaking me down, and I didn't know. So I spent so much time in my rooms for quite some time, and that's when I got the nerve, the energy, the strength to tell my family that I am no longer Muslim.
I was going to ask you that, and how did they take it? How did your family
Yeah.
take something like that statement?
Well, they gave me some time because they thought I was joking, and I was in my family. The things that we don't joke about, especially when it comes to Christianity, you can joke about anything. So that was bad. That was a bad joke, but they gave me some time. They thought I was being a teenager and I was just a young boy, but after some time, they realized that I meant it.
Yeah.
And they had to disown me.
Wow.
Yeah, they disowned me, and they cast me away out of the family. They disassociated with me. And to do that, it takes a process. When they're disowning you, the prayers that are made, and I'd seen them with certain other, people. So you get you're starved for a day. You don't eat. You're not allowed to come out. So you're starved. You stay in your room for a day, and then you're brought in the middle. You sit in the middle with uncles and aunties and everybody there present. So they begin prayers. They start their prayers. They're cussing prayers. You either die or you either get mad or sick. Just an example that you're an outcast should be the word. So after all that was done, I remember it was very late in the night. They told me never come back.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, never come back.
And you've never seen them since?
It has been a period over the years, but as I speak, after I think 2-3 years ago, the Lord spoke to me because I was young, and I didn't know what I had believed in, but inside of me, there was some power that pushed me that you're doing the right thing. I couldn't go back, so I believed in what I was inside of me. So one of the painful moments was that regardless of the difference in the faith or whatever they never understood, they would still allow me home because I was young and I had no place to go.
Okay.
So it dawned on me in anger and bitterness to realize that regardless of anything, I'm still their son, I'm still their nephew, I'm still their cousin. So they couldn't listen. And they attempted so many times to kill me, and I have almost scars all over my body. But I survived, and my journey from the village, I had to take a bus. It's a long story. No, not a bus. It was a lorry. I found a lorry along the road that had equipments on. I remember because I'd woken me in the morning. I had some shorts on me and a vest on me and some sandals. So they never allowed me go back pick my clothes or anything. So they just sent me away.
With what you had on.
So you could not never come back.
Yes.
Did you have to stay for that moment though? I'm just curious because, I mean, when they were saying they were going to cast you out, you had to physically stay there. They just didn't let you go or something like that.
I tried to stay around because I had no place. They
had nowhere to
go. Telling me to go away from home meant go away from the village.
Okay.
Like you from the community,
I gotcha.
go away,
Okay.
because everyone knew me, and I was this. Is
it disassociated?
Dishonorable.
The word should be like I was a rotten tomato, I think.
Okay.
That
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do away from me because me being around, others
gonna
will take
affect.
my example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the rotten apple in the bunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything around you gets spoiled because they in proximity with you.
Yes.
Got you.
So you either die as an example or get mad as an example, so others take that with you, or you get killed, and nobody will take the measures to look for you or do anything, because it's faith. So nobody will come to it is faith.
The story is crazy.
That was a lot to
First of all,
Yes.
that was just the first half.
I got lost. You said you got in this thing on the side of the road. What is it called?
It's a lorry. We call them lorries. It's a truck. With 16 wheels. Initially, because I've never been outside of my village, so the plan was, I thought the city was near. I mean, where my thoughts were to go to my grandma, so I thought it was near. So initially, my plan was to walk, and I realized that
Too far.
Yeah.
Too far.
It's
It's
like
hot.
saying down the street from here. That's far.
So when you jumped in that truck, did it take you? Where did it take you?
Yeah, it took, because they didn't know I was on track. So I got up, and they didn't know I was on track until I don't know what I did, but the driver realized that someone is at the back of the truck. So he had to tell me to come off, because the traffic police wouldn't allow a big load of truck with somebody on top of it. But after some time, so he kept on taking me out, and by the time he would start the lorry, and I'll climb back on it. So but we got to an agreement.
How old were you through this whole process of you being disowned and getting cast out? Like, how old were you?
I was in the middle, so I was 14. I had not yet come 15, because my birthday is always in December, so that was before my birthday.
So how did you convince this driver to let you stay on?
He didn't.
He said
He said they came to an agreement.
He said they came to an agreement.
Well, the agreement was because I think he looked at me, and the way how I was, you could tell somebody who is lying and somebody who is not lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was one way. It was one way. I had no place to go, so there was no way how I would stay in the middle of the road. So I tried to talk to him, and he agreed to take me to a distance, because we're not going to the city where I was. So at a certain point, they said, we are dropping you here.
Okay.
So I thought I would walk all the rest.
I just want to backpedal a little bit, because you said you avoid being killed. Who was trying to kill you like that? Because I mean, you said you was in a village, so everybody was not your family, or everybody was your family in a sense. But this is 14 years old.
My community, my village, especially my family, they're staunch Muslims, and they have that honor and prestige of being Muslims. So news had spread out about my conversion and what they had done, what they had decided. So anybody who would associate with me, they were afraid to associate with me because of the repercussions, because of what would happen. So they were afraid, and I had been cast. I was cast. So I was an abomination.
Okay, abomination. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I had some people that I was staying in with before I left out until it got tense, and they had to take me away because they were afraid of their life. But in between, there are many times, when I was beaten, before I left.
You said they tried to kill you.
Yes, they did.
And you still have scars from that
Yes.
from today.
Yes, I have.
Dang.
Bro, like, do we understand how, like, do we really understand how, like, and we take it for granted. Like, we hear
It's
it all the
easy over
time.
here.
We hear it all the time that people on the other side of the world are getting, like, killed for being Christian. And I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna be 100% honest. I took it for granted. I'm like, man, it's because they ain't fighting back. No, this is serious stuff. Like, people are really getting beaten for transitioning to Christ. And at 14, like, that was happening?
They were angry because I had the family pride. I'd put down the family pride, and I disappointed them because I was the next leader as well, which I.
Okay.
So they had all the bitterness and anger and the rage because I had held on for, and they had given me time and I held on to it. So they were really, really mad.
So
Wow.
so okay. So what happened next when they drop you off? Then what happened?
Sorry.
When the truck drivers dropped you off, what happened after that?
I decided I would walk, and then I think a miracle happened. We have what we call taxis, the 14 seater.
Like van.
Like
van.
Yeah. So I stopped them and I told them I was going to the city. They asked if I had the money and I didn't. So they took me in.
Took you
Wow.
in anyway. Amen to that, bro.
So I know you said something earlier about in the Christian religion we're allowed to joke. You said something in reference to that, like we're allowed to, play around like that. But in the Muslim religion, it's a whole different level of severity. Explain that a little bit. Do you feel like Christianity is too lenient as it pertains to us? The way we serve, the way we, the way we pray, or the way we worship, like our servitude. Do you feel like it's too lenient? It's too passive? Because, especially coming from a Muslim background, it's like really strict. Do you feel like Christianity is too lenient?
Yes, it is, because from day one at birth, the things that you have to do, reading the Quran, reciting the Quran. It is something that you either love or like, and you grow to like it because it's part of you. It has become part of you. So there's certain things that you are taught forcefully, and by example, by the way they were teaching me, the pronunciation of words. There's a beating, the heavy punishments that that comes along. So. You're trying to understand religion, understand faith, and you don't even know anything, but yet they expect you to know and learn quickly and to do exactly what that requires, whether you know or you don't know. So as you grow, you have no option. And that is what it is. And then with Christianity, it's quite different. You have choices. You don't have choices, as I say.
Wow.
Choices like what? We could not be so serious, kind of be serious. Like,
You have a choice not to pray.
okay.
You have a choice not to fast. Here, Christian part, you have a choice not to, to attend church or do anything. In the other world, regardless of who you are, you don't have to miss.
So what's your experience with Christianity here in the States versus back at home? Is there any difference? Like,
the difference is I've seen that possibly some of the things that I see here are just prayer requests in our home, in our country.
It's just what?
prayer requests. Can you elaborate? Like,
Yeah,
what,
go on
what
that.
what kind of things are you talking about?
Like God has blessed you with certain things that are dreams back home.
Oh, he's saying their prayer request here
Or things
we
we
have.
take. Yeah, we take it for
So
granted.
basically,
Wow.
like in the States, we take for granted what you got. What kind of things? This is like what?
Material things or
You really have nice things. So the world is completely different. The homes, the roads, infrastructure, and the weather is really, really nice. I'm sure when I go back home, I'll get back my real skin.
he said my real
Man said he said he exfoliated over here, boy.
Yo, that
said
is
my real
funny.
skin.
That
so
is
funny.
funny. That is funny.
So Moses, so why did you want to go to your grandmother? Was your grandmother Christian or was she Muslim?
Yeah, my grandma had married one of my four grandparents, and she was a Christian. So
Wow.
she moved far away, and built her home. So I would hear about her. We wouldn't have access to her. And when that happened, I knew she would be the only person.
I can understand.
Question. So was she also maybe
That
like
made me cry.
exiled as well, or she just?
Sorry.
No, you good.
No, you're
No,
fine.
take your time, take your
You're
time.
fine.
Yeah, you were saying.
Did she have to go through the same thing, or did she just already move out before that point?
She had moved so many years ago, and I don't. The rest of our story is a long story, but she had settled so far away.
Yeah.
And she never got married, but she would treat any person who came home like it was her child.
Yeah.
So
That's how she treated you when you came.
yeah, and yeah, and she passed away last year.
Dang.
Oh, my
I
condolences.
was gonna ask, but I'm glad I did. So, what was your experience when you, I guess, how long did you get to live with her?
Yeah, I lived with her since then.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So when she first saw you, and you told her you converted, what did she say?
She never believed. She asked because it's a long journey. I didn't know exactly where she was because I'd never been to her home. So I had spent some time to look for her, locate her, and there were no phones I was new in the city. So when she saw me,
Take your time.
Take your time. Take your time.
That's so crazy.
she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it, and she had asked me if I came alone, if I was alone, what had happened, she couldn't believe it, and I told her I converted, and she said one funny thing. She said, "You're too young. Yeah, you're too young." But she welcomed me, and we started the journey together. And she taught me things. It took me time to cleanse all that I'd grown in knowing.
Yeah.
But I that's when I had my magazines on, so they were my first Bible, so I enjoyed them. I read them over and over, word by word. Still have them.
Wow.
Yeah. So my journey began from there, and in prayer, and I became stronger, and she took me to school. She didn't have so much, and by faith, I studied by faith. Never got any report from school. All the 6 years, I never knew how I performed. So I simply joined in another class when everyone was being promoted to another class. I could join with the rest until my final year at school.
Man,
Wow.
that is really powerful.
Yeah.
And during that period, I remember I got to learn about prayer and about fasting and all of that. Everything was just coming to me, and the Lord would have dreams. I used to have trouble with the spirits. I could dream about Muslim men chasing after me with a pang and hose. Digging holes. So I would struggle with that because I didn't know how to. My grandmother didn't know basically about some of the things. So all the time I would, be in my room and read and talk to God in a childish way you'll never imagine. So through that, my faith continued. My faith continued to grow, and as I read the articles, so yes,
This is a movie script, all right? So if you haven't, catch up, all right? Y'all catch
on the
up.
back end. If you
For real, run it back, listen to it, tap in. So right now we're at the portion of the story where you're at grandma's house now. You're unlearning the Muslim traditions or the Muslim doctrine, and now you're relearning Christianity.
Yes.
No Bible,
Yeah, it is.
just your magazines and your relationship with God
And your grandmother.
and your grandmother.
Yes. So I picked up fire and I wanted to preach. I wanted to preach based on what I'd learned from about faith, basically about faith. And I went to schools, and I remember the first school when I went to, I couldn't even preach. I prayed about it, and I felt, I was ready. And when I got in front, I started to stutter. Yes. I don't even remember what I preached, but I think it was somewhere around Ezekiel. But I failed to speak, and I said, I'm not going to do this again, God. I'm not going to do this again. And time went on. I felt my burning desire to reach out, and I went to the nearby community, and wanted to have a rally and preach and preach. And I remember that a friend had a camera, and this was my first.
That's you?
Yeah, this was my first. First meeting.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I was disappointed because I had seen visions that God was bringing crowds in, and but when I arrived, only young kids showed up, 4 or 5 years of age. They couldn't even say Jesus. I was really disappointed. And the adults were right there on the floor. I thought they had the word and they were ready to give their lives to Christ, but none of them even moved a finger. So I got back home and I was disappointed. I said, God, I'm not going to do this again. And that's when, I started going in the villages and preaching. I spent so much time in the villages, several villages. I used to move and preach. I spent time in the villages.
About how old were you at this point, approximately?
I must have been around 17, 18, 19, 20, around there. These ages.
Wow.
Yes.
This is after school.
Yes, right after school I started preaching.
So how did you get around? What was your how was anything supplied for you? Where you stay? How did you eat?
I would go and it may sound crazy. So I would get into a car or a bus. My grandmother would give me some money, so I would get into a bus, and if I feel a direction that you should go this way, or I would just simply get into the bus park and head out anyway. So at any destination, I would just jump off and begin right there. Sometimes I would look for any Christian church around and ask them. I said, I'm here to preach, so I would preach in the villages, just like that. So sometimes I would spend there, weeks and months.
Wow.
Yeah, without returning. Without coming back home.
And all was taken care for you.
Yeah, they did. Sometimes they did, and most times they were hostile, people. But also to remind you that I had when you're praying, you have a mark here. You have a mark. The Muslims have a mark here. Your black mark. So that disturbed a lot of Muslims that I came across while preaching Christ, and I have a mark right here. And this is how I got to change my name, because mine, when you change but you have to when you change, you have to change everything. You have to change everything. So I changed my names. But actually, my grandmother named me Moses. Gave me the name Moses, and God gave me Jedidiah, which means beloved of God, and then Mwanguzi means victory.
Oh wow.
That is amazing.
Crazy.
So you went